Okay, hello YouTube and hopefully fellow synth, MIDI, flashing light geeks out there. Thought I'd just do an update video on the current situation with my setup for anybody who is interested. It's changed a little bit. I've really added any new gear, although there's a few effects pedals. Nothing major, although there's a few more purchases I think on the horizon, we'll see. But yeah, if you've watched my last sort of few series of videos, you'll know I'm trying to get away from using a computer as much as possible and just relying on an iPad. Yes, I know everybody will comment that an iPad is still a computer, but it's not what I class as a laptop. It's a lot more portable. It's a lot easier to work with, and computer controlled. At the end of the day, all of these are computers. So anyway, rant over. Don't moan. I'm still using a computer, kind of, because I am. Right, I was going to go through the MIDI connections first, because this is where it gets really flipping confusing. Because of lack of MIDI through on some stuff. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of the Roland gear, because it has MIDI through, which makes life a lot easier. You don't have to faff about buying MIDI through boxes and so on. So I've got my trusty notebook, because I've got all my MIDI connections in here. If we just kind of start with the, well, the TR8 is actually the, I'm using that as the master clock. So when I set the tempo on here, everything else will follow. So that, in terms of sort of connection to the MX1, is connected via USB. So that's sending its MIDI data over USB to the MX1. So that will start the MX1 playing. So from the MX1, I've got just MIDI out, going to MIDI in of the Electribe. So that will then, when I press play over here, okay, that's going to start and stop the Electribe playing, and then I'm sequencing stuff separately with that. So that's kind of deals with that section. What I've then got is MIDI out from the TR8, going to MIDI in here on the TB03. I've then got one of these cheap MIDI splitter cables, which are great. I'm using about 3 or 4 of these at the moment now. They're about 3 or 4 quid off eBay, and they work really well, and it gives you 2 MIDI outputs basically from here. So one MIDI output of here is going over to the Volca bass, to the MIDI in. That's the end of that MIDI chain, because the Volca bass doesn't have any MIDI out. Then the second cable coming out of here is going over to the TB3, which has MIDI through. MIDI out, again, these are all standard 5-pin MIDI cables. The MIDI out of the TB3 is going to the MIDI in of the System 1. So all the MIDI's all passing through and keeping everything nice and in time. System 1, I then have another splitter cable, MIDI cable, out the back. So that is sending one connection to the iPad via this, the Roland, if it'll focus, UM1 MIDI USB interface, and that's just connected to the iPad by the camera connection kit. Works really well. Getting about 30 quid, so not expensive at all. And then the second MIDI out from the System 1 is going to the Minilogue. So all of those I am able to send MIDI data from the ModStep app, which I'll go through in a second. Just to sort of finish off the connections then, the Electribe is then having a MIDI splitter cable out, which is somewhere down here in all this mess of cables. And that is sending MIDI out to the MIDI in of the Volca bass, the Volca keys, and MIDI in to the MB33. VT3 is not connected by MIDI or anything. That's basically just got a microphone connection in, which is this. And then I'll deal with that separately when I do the audio, because I don't want to get too complicated. So I'm still using the ModStep app, but I'm using it now purely just for MIDI. So just on the settings here, on the in and out, just got MIDI output that you can see there. All you've got to do is just go on your MIDI out, select your USB interface, which is the UM1 in this connection, in this instance. And then I'm got on this channel is set to channel 3, which is the TB03. Channel 2 is the TB3. Channel 4 is the Volca bass. Channel, whatever that is, 16 is the System 1, and channel 5 is the Minilogue. So all you got to do is just set that to the channel that your hardware is set to receive MIDI on. And that will then send MIDI out to those. So for example, this, if I just launch this clip here, hopefully you can hear that, is now playing that MIDI sequence on the TB-03. Let's just go over to that, just stop these clips playing. Okay, so the difference between this and the last video I did, ModStep is now purely sending out MIDI data, because I was having a few issues with it, that it doesn't actually, unless I'm doing something wrong, it doesn't time stretch any audio loops. They just play as samples, which meant I had to always get my the settings on the TR whatever it's called, the TR8 had to be, you know, if a song was at 123 beats per minute, I had to make sure that was on 123 beats per minute, which I found a little bit restrictive. When I play live, I like to do it a little bit more like a DJ set, sort of like a sort of a continual stream of music. My songs take on a very different kind of format to the original recordings, so it's more like keeping the grooves going. So I don't follow a lot of the original structure of the songs. I do to a certain extent, but it gives me the ability to sort of take it in any direction doing it that way. So what I have got on here is I've got a load of samples from my songs, which is on the sampler that comes within the ModStep app. And basically all you got to make sure you do is I've got that track armed, so these samples will now receive MIDI information from the MPK Mini down here. So as soon as I press that pad there, that's triggering that pad, and that's basically just normal MIDI notes sending those. So I've just got that set on that channel to receive MIDI in from the MPK. So I've got loads of okay, so different samples set up there that I trigger at certain times during my songs. And I basically, I just got to remember where everything is, and it just comes from practicing this a load of times. You eventually just remember what all the pads do, and I build up the tracks gradually like that. So what I'm now using for my loops is this app, which is called, in fact, I'll just go back to the start. It's this one. Okay, it's called LP5. And the great thing with ModStep is I can put that in. It's compatible with ModStep. So if you see here, if I go into my instruments, and you can go on the inter-app audio instruments, and all of these you can use as an instrument within ModStep. And I've got that loaded on here. So if I want to go over to that, all I do is just make sure that one's highlighted. Click on that, and it's going to take me over to this. And this basically is, it's fairly limited. It's not a cheap app. It's £10 or $9.99, but it time stretches audio loops. I've got a few very slight issues with the latency, particularly with some percussion loops. I'm not sure if that's down to the quality of my iPad or how I originally did the loops, but it's workable. It's okay. So that's set up to receive MIDI clock input. Let that focus from the UM1. So let's just do that loop going. Okay. Now when I start the TR8, let me just get rid of some stuff. That is starting to play these. So whenever I launch a clip or a loop, okay, it's going to start on bar or beat 1 and just keep looping round. Now if I just take some stuff out, so I've just got those loops playing, so what I can then do is speed up on here. Okay, and you'll see the tempo changing there. Okay, so it's a little bit kind of Ableton Live clip launching thing. I've been trying to find some hardware that does the same thing as a sampler, and it doesn't do it. And I thought, let's try this. So, you know, for the sake of spending £10, it works pretty well. And I just got a load. You can have up to 40 loops. So you've got 8 tracks with 5 channels. Obviously, you can't play 2 together that way around, but you can play. You can have 5 playing at once along that way, which is more than enough for the way I work. And then I can bring loops in and out from different tracks. Obviously, you've got volume faders and so on here. So you know, let's just start that playing, and let's get this going. Sorry, it's not playing. You know, I can fade stuff in and out. Okay, and so far that works, actually, it works really well. Apart from those slight latency issues, which is, I don't think it's that noticeable, to be honest. It's pretty easy to import your samples in. Just import them in from Dropbox. It's dead easy. Just stick them all in a zip file and it imports them all in one go. And then you just assign them to wherever you want them on there. And the great thing with this is you can, because it's kind of running within ModStep, you can easily go between the two apps. Just there, we've got the little ModStep icon. So we just click on that and it's going to take us straight back to ModStep. So I can easily then go in there, launch my MIDI clips, and then go back instantly to launch those as well. And obviously I can then, once I've filled those 40 up, this is the live set I've got here. If it'll focus, yep. And obviously then, if I need more than 40 loops and clips, I can just load in another set on there. So that works pretty well. So in terms of the audio, let's just go through the channels basically on the MX1. So channel 1 is getting the audio, just a standard audio connection from the Electribe. Channel 2 is the audio from the Minilogue. Channel 3, because I've run out of inputs on here, and this one annoys me, the one that you can't use, the digital input. It's a shame you can't switch that between a normal analog input and a digital input, because I could use that channel and it annoys me, but there we go. So what I've done on here is I've taken the input from this little 4-channel mixer here, and going into here I've got the MB33, which is going through the... I think my phone just crashed on that a bit, so if that's a bit disjointed, that's why it's joined together here. So yeah, we're going through the Fab Distortion pedal there, and that's taking the input into there, and then the Volca keys is also going into this mixer here. So this channel will control the full volume of that, and then obviously I've got individual volume controls on here. Channel 4, straight input from the Volca bass. Channel 5 is just audio cable from the iPad, so that's the volume, etc., for all the loops and stuff playing off there. Channel 6, like I say, not using. And then we've got the TR8 USB audio on this one, System 1 USB audio, TB03 system audio. I've put the TB03 in there, which is now taking power from that channel as well. And the TB3 is going in on channel 4, and then when I do connect the laptop to it, that's there, so I use that for recording. Obviously I still use Ableton Live for recording the productions and mixing, etc., but from a live performance point of view, I'm just trying to get rid of the laptop because it's just so unreliable, and this very rarely crashes. The only issue I have on ModStep is when you first start it up and you try and activate the LP5 app, it tends to crash a few times. I don't know, it takes about 3 or 4 goes at it, and then it's okay. But once it's up and loading, I've never had a problem with that yet. So once that's up and running, it's pretty reliable. The VT3 I mentioned earlier, just got a microphone going into that as well, because there's one track where I do some weird vocal sample things. Again, I've run out of inputs on the MX1, so what I've done with that, I've taken the audio out of that and just going through the audio in of the TR8. So it's kind of using that as another mixer. And then we've got down here, we've got a Behringer delay chorus and this little reverb pedal. I'm just using those really as send and return effects from the MX1, just to get a little bit of chorus if necessary, a bit of delay in the background, a little bit of reverb if necessary. So just got the auxiliary output from the MX1, which goes into the vintage delay. These are all then chained together, and I've got the output from that reverb is going back to the return on here, and obviously I've got the volume control for the returns in here, and I can assign how much I want to each channel from there. So I think that's it. The MPK is connected to what I've got on the iPad is I've got a powered USB hub down here. So what's going into that is the MPK Mini, which takes power from that, and the UM1, the Roland UM1 MIDI interface is going into that, and then the main output from that is going to the camera connection kit on there. And I think that's it. I'm hoping that kind of makes some sort of sense. I hope it might give somebody a little bit of inspiration for their live setup. If you've got any questions, then you know what to do. Stick them in the comments below. I always do my best to answer as many questions as I can. Can't guarantee I'll answer everybody's, but generally I do. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. If you like my music, please go and stream it loads of times or go and buy it. because it helps me fund all of this lovely stuff. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next video.